Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. I know some of you might be tired about hearing about Bill C-21 and you might not care about guns, but I really want to talk about a provision in that bill that is genuinely terrifying. And what I mean by that is I think that this will actually get people killed. And not just people who have gun licenses. This is something that puts every Canadian at risk. So let's have a look at what I'm talking about here, and that is this section. Application for Emergency Prohibition Order. So this allows any person to make an ex parte application. And what that means is that that person is the only person who goes into the courtroom. The other side doesn't get notice. They don't get to respond. They don't get to present contrary evidence. They don't get to cross-examine. They don't get to do any of that. So it's just going to be on the word of that one person who goes into the courtroom. So they can make an ex parte application to a provincial court judge for an order prohibiting another person from possessing any firearm, crossbow, prohibited weapon, restricted weapon, prohibited device, ammunition, or explosive substance, or all such things, if the person believes on reasonable grounds that it is not desirable in the interest of the safety of the person against whom the order is sought, or of any other person that the person against whom the order is sought should possess any such thing. So that's the language of the legislation. Now, this also includes provisions for a hearing in private, where basically the public will be shut out. Now, normally our courts are open courts, where you can go in and you can watch trials on all sorts of matters. You can watch trials including on very sensitive matters, including on matters that have a publication ban that prevents the media from reporting on it. You can still go in and watch those. But these will be these very ultra-secret provisions, ultra-secret hearings, where essentially nobody's going to know, nobody's going to be able to go in and watch it. And further, there's actually a provision allowing for orders denying access to information, not just publication. Usually in Canada, when we're dealing with sensitive matters, for instance, matters that involve, say, children, for example, we might put a publication ban that prevents people from actually, reporting on it. However, this is an order denying access to information. You can't even get the information. This is really concerning because we have a foundation of open courts where we have the assumption that essentially our court processes have to happen in the public so that people can verify, so that we can trust that what is happening is fair. That's going to not be the way things are done. Things are going to be done in these secret trials that are, again, ex parte, so there's only one side presenting it. Now, if that is granted, essentially it says, if at the conclusion of a hearing, the provincial court judge is satisfied that the circumstances referred to in that subsection exist, and that an order should be made without delay to ensure the immediate protection of any person, the judge shall make an order prohibiting the person from having all the stuff I just mentioned, for a period not exceeding 30 days, beginning on which the order is made. Now, of course, they can then extend that later. However, when that is made, it comes with a warrant to search and seize. So they direct that the police can then go in and search for any of those things, firearms, ammunition, etc., and seize them. Or even if the judge doesn't grant an order allowing that, the police can do so anyway. Now, there are already provisions that allow the police to potentially get a warrant to search and seize in very similar circumstances, or that allow for search and seizure without a warrant if it's imminent. If somebody is in immediate peril, the police can go in. However, this takes the police out of the equation entirely. This just puts it so that any person can do this by going in front of a provincial court judge. And naturally, the provincial court judge must be satisfied that the circumstances exist. But they're only, as I mentioned, going to hear from one side. And there's not going to be any cross-examination. There's not going to be any contrary information presented. Normally, previously, the way the law is right now, before Bill C-21 goes in, the police are involved, which allows them to do some investigation. For instance, they can say, hey, the person telling us that Joe is a danger isn't actually who they say they are. We looked into it and they say that they're Joe's neighbor, but in fact, they're somebody who has been threatening to kill Joe for some time. This person who's come to us with this information is actually the bad guy. The provincial court judge can't check that. They don't have access to those police databases. They can't look that up. They can't see, for instance, that this person is somebody who has been convicted of stalking you, that this person is somebody who has been convicted of assaulting you, that this is your angry ex-spouse or something like that. There's not going to be any opportunity for you to see who this person is and to say, whoa, 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 you shouldn't believe this person because, and there's all sorts of reasons why somebody might do this falsely. All of those checks and balances are going to be gone. And even after the fact, you're not necessarily going to be able to tell who made the allegation against you. What does this mean? Well, this provision, if it's enacted, will be a tremendous weapon for every angry ex-coworker, spouse or ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend, anyone who's got a grudge against you, who's willing to go into court and not be honest. And this happens. Now you might say, okay, well, that's not such a big deal because all they're going to do is just, they'll ban me from having guns, and maybe you're not a gun owner. Maybe you don't care about that. But what you should care about is the whole search and seizure aspect, because what that means is that they will send in, you might not have guns, but they'll certainly send some into your house because you're probably going to be looking at, 4 to 8 police officers showing up with AR-15s, kicking down your door, and being a little touchy if you happen to look the wrong way or reach for the wrong thing or react the wrong way to people kicking down your door to come take your stuff. As we just saw in the case of Roger Katanko out in Ontario, having these provisions where police are showing up to search and seize can result in fatalities, especially where the police think that there's guns involved. Keep in mind, this person who's gone in to make an ex parte application could have said all sorts of crazy things. We're seeing a real rise in the problem of swatting online. There's various content creators out there, whether they're on the left or the right. If they're polarizing in any way, sometimes people, make false reports and do this. Well, we've actually just created, or we're in the process of creating, a set of provisions here that will allow for that with relative ease and with the safety of an order that prohibits anybody from finding out who did it. This is a real concern for me. I mean, I'm not a super public figure, but some people at least know who I am. And I may not always be popular. People may not always agree with me. People may not always like me. If you have an angry, former coworker or former partner or anything like that, they could also use this. This is, I don't feel I'm exaggerating when I say that this will get somebody killed. There's absolutely the potential, and the potential over enough time becomes a certainty, where somebody makes a false report, and as a result of that false report, somebody ends up getting injured or killed. We've taken all of the, there was already a process for the police to go in and take firearms if it was necessary. What this does is it takes all of the brakes off it. And another group of people who should be very concerned by this is in fact the police themselves. Because who is likely to upset people from time to time? Well, police officers are. And who might have somebody go in and make a false report? Who deals with people on a regular basis who might have a grudge and a willingness to make a false report? Well, police officers do. If you're a police officer looking at this, think about the last person who you arrested going into court. How is the judge going to know that you arrested this person? How's the judge even going to know that you're a police officer if it's not, say, in your jurisdiction and, if they're 3 towns over doing this? They're not. This is tremendously worrying, and the inclusion of these provisions is going to be, we're going to see this weaponized as part of, we sometimes see the court system used in domestic violence circumstances where people will actually use false reports in order to get back at a partner. This will absolutely end up being used this way. I just can't express how much of a bad idea this is, how concerning it is. And, even if they put in everything else in Bill C-21, and I disagree with tons of stuff in Bill C-21. There's actually some stuff I do agree with, but even if they put in everything else, this provision should not be put in. This provision endangers the public, and yeah. Anyway, that's sort of my concern on that. I really wanted to share that with you guys. I also want to give a bit of an appeal here, and that is because Springfield Gun Club is currently fighting their own appeal. They won a court case essentially to preserve their rights to make decisions about how their range operates and to make sure that their range is a good place to go to shoot. And, you know, if this is something that everyone can really agree on, you know, whether you like firearms or not, you know, if you don't like firearms, you're probably happiest seeing them used at the range. So you're, you know, having good ranges out there is something that kind of unites everyone on both sides of the divide of that particular debate. So right now they're in a court battle with the chief firearms officer. I'm not going to go through the full details of the appeal because it's largely on questions of standard of review. And standard of review is super important, but it's also super uninteresting to most people. So I'm not going to go through it in detail, but I will link their fundraiser in the description below. If you're in a position to do so, please go check it out. I note that lots of people have sort of stopped contributing to my Patreon for reasons that I entirely support. When I look at the exit interview things, a lot of it says people are saying financial times are tough, and they are. But if you have to pick between giving Springfield some dollars and giving me some dollars, please send them to Springfield on this one, okay? And if you are one of those people out there who's looking at your wallet and going, I don't know how I make ends meet this month, please, you know, support yourselves rather than me. I am helping me out is kind of a luxury thing, so yeah. That said, I do want to do my sort of thank you shout outs here. And also my usual reminder, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with your friends, subscribe if you want to see more content. And want to thank my Patreon supporters at the $50 level, Canada's National Firearms Association, the CCFR, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited and Marc Olivier Demour. And at the $20 level, Mick Tane, Mark, Jane Babe and Luxor, Haywire, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, Bruno R., Andrew Elsich, and Vicky, and I apologize, I'm going to do my best here, Shochuk, I think, or Sheshwick, I'm not sure. Please let me know how badly I mangled that. I apologize. I also want to thank all of my $10 supporters who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching. I hope this has armed you with knowledge, and see you next time.